perinatal and early childhood manager. And we are thrilled to just launch this brand new monthly program. We did a poll with our staff and figured the First 5 Mendocino Community Hour would encompass everything that we want to kind of do here. Wouldn't you agree, Alex?
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be a monthly series, and we really are hoping to do some deep dives into the world of early childhood, from parenting tips and child development to building stronger, more resilient communities for our kids in general. So we'll be talking about everything from like attachment styles, understanding, maybe you've heard the term adverse childhood experiences. Sometimes you'll see this in billboards around.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi.
Toxic stress. This is our first time with community radio, so you might hear some pauses and some extra sounds. We don't know. So we're introducing our personalities here. But we're also going to really focus on positive childhood experiences too, because we have a lot of historical resiliency in Mendocino County that we really want to hope to highlight. But I'd love to invite, Alex, to talk more about maybe our core purposes and just the First 5 Mendocino as well.
Yeah, so First 5, our purpose is to support families from pregnancy on through the first 5 years, with really an idea that we can help build more thriving communities when we start offering supports early and often and tailored to families and what their needs are.
Yeah, and if you tend to think about the first 5 years of life, research has shown again and again that this is the most critical period for brain development. So it's such a small window in a child's development. So we really want to make sure that foundation is set solidly in the very beginning to really ensure a child's future health for overall development, learning, behavior, attachment, all of those things.
And many of the supports that we're typically used to seeing for families and for young children begin in school age years. And so really going a little earlier to support families in those very early years during pregnancy and the first, second, and third year when there are fewer supports, and building on those. That's kind of been a more recent area that we're trying to really expand on. And so our community agencies all over the state and in our county as well.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that maybe a lot of listeners don't understand, but the First 5 network is across the whole state of California. Maybe you guys know of an actor, director called Rob Reiner. He actually directed When Harry Met Sally and the Princess Bride, which we still quote, every day in our household. But back in 1998, Rob Reiner's daughter started having children, and he's always been a lifelong child advocate anyway. And he realized that there were very, very few supports for those early fundamental 0 to 3, 0 to 5 years. So he worked with a bunch of other advocates, and they passed Proposition 10 in 1998. So it really allows all 58 counties in California to meet the needs of children in their community as they see fit with these tax dollars. So it's really about creating and promoting the optimal health and child development across the state, as you mentioned, because we're one small part of a very large network.
Right. But we really focus on what's needed in Mendocino County because every community is unique, and I really love the spirit of Mendocino and how things translate differently in rural areas like where we live, with just beauty, nature, and really diverse community.
Absolutely. I love the diversity of Mendocino County. And one thing that, I just wanted to kind of just point out again, what we've realized in our work with First 5, especially Mendocino County, is when children are raised in well-resourced families and communities, these early experiences really have the best outcome when you're interacting with like whatever genetics is also provided, right? So it really helps just super launch kids. That's right, or the super launcher. And so, I think that it might be helpful for our listeners to understand maybe some of the core values that drive our work. And you can find all of our information on our website. If you wanted to go to FIRST, it's spelled FIRST, FIRST, the number 5, Mendocino.org. and you'll be able to see the wide breadth of all of the programs that we support, that hopefully in this monthly hour you'll be able to learn more about and kind of where they're located and how to access them. But this first show, we really just wanted to kind of highlight some of the overarching things about our agency, what drives us. Do you want to kind of introduce some of maybe our core values?
Sure, yeah. So a few years back, I think it was actually 2020, that great year, when collaboratively we got together with our whole staff and started working on identifying what our values were collectively. We went through several iterations and processes to kind of hone what was really important to all of us and what we thought was important for the community to know about us and where we wanted to go. So it was a really intensive process and a really inclusive process that really, we have kind of a round table, and that's one of the things that we've developed over time.
It's such a crucial thing to do during the pandemic, too, when there was so much separation and isolation during that time.
Right. And it was an interesting time because that's when I came into First Five in 2020. So this was really fundamental in my understanding of what First Five was going to be and what had been. So we, through this process, identified some core values, including integrity, with the idea that we are going to uphold and dedicate our work in life to creating space and community where children and families are a priority. And so that's something that's, pretty foundational to the work we do as an agency that's developed to be the first 5 years of support for families with children.
Absolutely.
We also really wanted to be transparent. We want to have open communication with our community, with each other, and so we strive to create open, honest communication with our team, also with our partners and community, and we really value that kind of work, which we'll get to in a second here too.
Yeah, and I think that, especially about this core value, I think one thing that I really love about our team, and I think we've shared it with other partners that we work with too, is our staff agreements, that talk about not just how to live these values, right? How to really drive action to them. And part of that is that transparency with having these known kind of just agreements.
Yeah. We also really care deeply about equity. We want to create social and systemic changes that help more people have greater opportunity, access, and to uplift those who are most impacted by challenges in our society. And some of those are children. Kids have a lot to learn. Come in with just a little bit, and hopefully with some parenting skills, they can really go far.
Absolutely, and especially in this day and time, I think really cornerstone equity is definitely a cornerstone of our work.
Yeah. And empowerment is also kind of along those lines that we can't give people power, but we can help people recognize their own strengths. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that we try to do in everything we're doing is look to strengths, build on those, and also know that families, individuals, and partner agencies all come with a lot of background, a lot of their own inherent knowledge. So we want to help build that and grow not only the children and in their development, but also economics and in health all overall.
Yeah, we trust that parents and families are the expert in their own lives. Maybe they don't need help. Maybe they need, like you said, just a little help in realizing how to access that and elevate it. But they're really the experts in their own life. Yeah.
And going back to that idea of transparency, we also work with and collaborate, not just with our own agency team members, which we are small and mighty, but we also know that our whole community is full of small, mighty agencies doing really good work, and we need all of us. We recognize that to really do the best for our community, we need to work together. That helps us enhance our skills, our passions, build stronger coalitions, and support our community and our partners, and grow those shared values, combining our goals and really amplifying our efforts together. One of my kind of key philosophies has developed over the last couple of years is that we need all of us. And so collaboration is really important to, I think, our whole agency.
Yeah, stronger together, absolutely. Yep.
Do you want to talk about accountability?
I love accountability. We definitely provide, we really want to be accountable not only for our own actions, but in how we show up for the community, really making sure that everything that we're putting out and then available is of high quality. And it's informed by not only, the current science, but also the experience and lived experience and knowledges of our own team and our community and our partners. We really want to just cultivate the consistency of making improvements across time. We're looking at our strategic plan and really digging into the data to encourage, what is the data telling us? Not just the quantitative data about how many we're serving, but really how we're serving the community and how can we deepen our partnerships with our, with our partnering collaborations and that kind of stuff. So really, we will send out surveys. We just are really wanting feedback. So to kind of like just maintain that accountability and align ourselves with our efforts, which goes into our next value of adaptability, right? So when we're accountable and really get feedback from the community, it gives us feedback on how we shift, how we're flexible. We do this with our staff. We definitely do it with our partners in our community as well. On one thing, I want to just shout out to our board. We have a great commission, a set of commissioners, and we're hoping in these monthly times we can have one of our commissioners or several commissioners come in as guests and talk about their experience and how they serve our community, because they have been really adaptable in helping us kind of like, adjust the funding streams to really meet the needs of the community in the best way we can. And finally, our one of our not final values, but where we narrowed them down to is culture. We really strive to create a space to cultivate respect for the diversity in people and communities. And this looks like, our staff represents the community that we serve. And so we really value the culture and the knowledges and experiences and historical resilience that's actually been passed down. And we understand that there's historical trauma, but we also really want to lean into that historical knowledge and historical resilience that is so rich in our county.
Right. And our offices are in Ukiah. We serve the whole county, which is huge. Mendocino County is huge. And there's lots of communities within the county. So recognizing that the experiences of people in different areas of the county are different, and that the needs are different. So really trying to help bridge those while considering cultural context as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great shout out, the great thing to shout out for our family resource centers too, because we do some, very tight-knit collaborations with all of our family resource centers, and they're sprinkled throughout this whole county, and that's how our work is able to touch the larger pieces of our county. I'm feeling like we should do a pitch for this great fundraiser that we're this fundraiser doing. Can we turn it over to Andres to do a little pitch for us?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this show. I think it's really important, and being a dad of 3 kids, they're on their own now, but yep. I sure could have used resources like you guys have in the moment. And as our listeners know, we are in the midst of our fall pledge drive, and we call it Growing Radio and Cultivating Community, and that's exactly what's happening here with First 5. And they work out in our community, and we help give them a voice to let you know about it. If you, I don't see any show goal for this. You guys are lucky. I guess it's your first time up, so
we're newbies here.
But let's go for the show total. 707-895-2233. KZYX.org is where you can donate online as well. And again, this is an important resource to the community if you have kids yourself, or maybe you have a child who has grandkids at this point. And sometimes it's hard as a grandparent to see your kids struggling in certain ways, and there are ways that First 5 can help out in that. Again, 707-895-2233, KZYX.org, and I'm going to hand it back to you.
Great. Thank you so much for that pitch.
It's interesting you mentioned the 3 kids. I think we're all part of the 3 Kids Club.
We are.
So modern day large family.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Yeah, Alex, you have 3 and I have 3 as well. Yeah. A lot of our staff actually have 3 too. That's kind of funny.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that, we are for the children. And I really feel like, Alex mentioned this before about the cornerstone and keeping children as the cornerstone in every community. We like to see, every family as its own private enterprise, right? Like, when you invest in the family, when you invest in a child's upbringing, the whole community at large, the return on investment is just huge. And so even if you do not have children, even if you haven't crossed that path yet, children and their well-being actually affect our whole economy at large. Availability of childcare, the quality of childcare that's available allows people to go to work and serve the rest of the community. So even if you're not directly related to having children, like maybe your doctor does, maybe your eye doctor does, maybe your librarian does, like maybe the place your mechanic does, right? So when those children are cared for by the community, then they can actually serve you better as well. So there's this whole domino effect of, when we really center the children. So really.
Yeah, when we do community events, a lot of times we'll ask folks who are walking by, do you have littles in your life? Because you may not have children, but there might be kids in your community. You might have nieces, nephews, and like you were saying, all of the folks in our community who we rely on, who may be parenting too.
Yeah. And I think that now's kind of a good time to kind of introduce some of the cornerstone programs that we do. One thing has been our evidence-based parenting program, Triple P. Mendocino County, one thing I love about Mendocino County is it's so innovative. And Mendocino County, as many don't know probably, is the first county in California to introduce Triple P.
Yeah.
And so we brought it from an international model and brought it into California. And now it's actually recognized at the state every January for Positive Parenting Awareness Month. And if you've seen our flag or our banner across State Street, we promote it. I think last year we even did a bus ad for promoting positive parenting. And what I love about the program is because it's not just about parenting, it's about relationships. And relationships are so key. And the principles about Triple P kind of cultivate healthy relationships across all the lifespan, right? We actually definitely imply them quite a bit amongst our own staff,
There's definitely times when we say, can you triple P me?
Can you triple P me?
I need two things that went well, one thing that could go better.
Exactly. When we reflect on what is going on, absolutely. One of the first principles of Triple P is having a safe, interesting environment. We talk about this with children and parents. So when a child is, we heard the term runner. Oh, the child's a runner, They got places to explore. They're, like trying to figure out their whole world.
And where's that safe place that they can run?
Yeah.
We can make sure it's part of their normal, regular routine.
Yeah. How can we keep it safe? How can we create a yes environment for children instead of a no environment? So having a safe, interesting environment. And I think this really translates to workplace too. When you come to work, it's like, is it safe? Is it psychologically safe, right? Is it a place that we can kind of come and be authentically, kind of living and walking our values, living our integrity and what have you. Another principle is having a positive learning environment, which I love this about just being curious.
Right.
Yeah. I think you're really great at being curious, Alex, and just asking what do I need to learn about this situation? And
learning is, it's a way to keep things interesting when you're always looking for something new and a deeper understanding. And kids do that naturally. They're little natural scientists. So giving them, encouragement to keep going when they are curious about something is, it's really rewarding when you see a kid and you can help just grow that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And giving them feedback, I think positive feedback, right? Like, oh, wow, you did not just, because that's another one is a sort of discipline, but giving them specific feedback. And I think that really helps us even I as even the executive director, I need specific feedback of what am I doing well? What can I improve? What can I change? Because then that gives me an action, again, putting that into action.
And direction and a focus, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then using a sort of discipline is it was one of the third principles of the program. And I really like this because it's not punitive, discipline is like to disciple, to teach, right? And
it's like boundaries.
Yeah, it's boundaries. Yeah. It's like really having like healthy areas to kind of like, again, like what's the known expectation?
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Having and realistic expectations,
which is the fourth principle. Thank you for walking right into that. They really do, yeah. And those realistic expectations. I think when I've taught classes in the past, this one is really the most difficult. And this is where I think our other programs, like the one that you're fostering with the Welcome Baby program, which I'm going to have Alex talk about next, is really when parents understand what typical and atypical child development looks like and what attachment looks like, their expectations of what they can expect out of their child just fall right into place. Don't you agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just giving parents an idea of what a child might be capable at a particular developmental stage or age, and helping them grow into the next stage.
And having a real expectations as yourself as a parent.
Totally.
Too. Like when you're sleep deprived and you haven't slept and maybe you're single parenting and you've got some resources that you're struggling for, like, how realistic are you going to be calm and, if that's okay, having some self-care and some forgiveness for yourself, which is that fifth principle, which is taking care of yourself as a caregiver. Like, what does that look like? And that self-care piece, I think, is the hardest thing for parents to really do.
Right. And it can be such small things that really feed us. We get like some messaging from social media that self-care is something you have to pay for, but it can be taking a few deep breaths before you go into a situation or a space, to really just, do little things to take care of our own nervous system and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. So Triple P was really kind of like the core program of First Five for a long time. We've had it for a couple of decades now in the county.
Wow.
And we've seen some incredible data. We're going back to this data, right? This data piece. We've seen some incredible data from the pre and post of parents who have taken it about how it's really helped reduce their stress as a parent. It's helped them enjoy the whole parenting journey more, which is so great. I mean, when we see that vicarious joy of children and parents, just really enjoying themselves. I love that.
And I remember when I first came into First Five, we all train in Triple P, Positive Parenting Program. I had older children, and I was like, I'm pretty good at this. Yeah. I'm pretty good at this. And when I was but I had struggles with my kids still. And I hadn't recognized where those struggles were coming from or how I might improve things. Right, so even taking the class as someone who was going to be sharing information about it, who thought I had it all, figured out. I didn't, and I learned, and I'm really glad that I did because it did improve the relationships I have with my kids. Even though they were very positive, there were things I could have done better. So
well, and that's another thing why I love the program, because it can be like for some parents who just might need, like, I just need to teach my baby how to sleep or how to toilet train my child. That's all I need, right? There's just, sometimes we're just struggling in small areas, and that's okay. Because I don't know if you know this, but I did not get an instruction manual with any of my children. All three of them. I don't know. It got lost in the mail somewhere. So just kind of fake it till you make it kind of thing. So we're all struggling and figuring it out what's best. Or sometimes we just never really had any guidance, and the whole 8-week class is really helpful to talk about, like, really concentrated, like, steps and practices to do.
It's really kind of amazing to be able to get that much out of just 8 sessions that really help. It changes the way we parent and the relationships we have with our kids.
Well, and you mentioned, it being helpful with older children. Like, what I love about it is there was Triple P Teen, and which are totally different methods than when your kids are in that developmental stage, right? Where you're really learning boundaries. But what I love about, and I'd like to invite you to talk about the Welcome Baby program, because Triple P just came out with another level of it called Triple P Baby, and it really focuses on the realistic expectations of a new parent, right? But all of our Welcome Baby team is trained in that. But can you talk more about our Welcome Baby program in general?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's kind of, this actually goes back to before I started at First Five, because I was thinking about all the needs that I saw in the community for parents, as a parent, as someone who'd had babies, and I thought, we need more of like the midwifery model of care for more families, and in a non-clinical way. So in a supportive, families have someone to check in with, someone who cares about them, who talks to them about, what's on their minds. And so before I came to First Five, I was kind of outlining this program. And while I was doing some research online, I saw First Five was hiring for someone to basically do that work. And so it was like so synchronous, right?
Yeah. I love that. That.
And so we've been working for a long time with programs that do that kind of work. And there aren't a lot of them. So we have launched our Welcome Baby program this last April, May, with 3 folks who are really dedicated to supporting parents in pregnancy through the first year. And that's what the program's focus is. So Welcome Baby is it's unique, tailored parenting support with a caring person who will continue to see, the same families as long as they want to be involved, and really helping them with whatever it is they need. So they're all trained in, so many things.
So many things. Those poor things. Our community health workers have gone through some serious training.
They are prepared. They are really well prepared for most anything that can come up for a family in pregnancy and in early parenting. And it's not just about the parenting. It's about the life, what's happening in life in this time when things are
generally community supports, you know,
in this time when there's so much change, becoming a parent, whether it's the first time, third time, fifth time, it's stepping into a new life each time.
Absolutely.
And each child is different. Each time your own, social circumstance might be different. And having somebody kind of hold your hand or sit with you and help you figure things out is really what the program's about. So, we're just thrilled to be able to do this. It's been a long time in development, but we had a lot of support from the state, from the First Five California Association in building this. And so the folks are, trained in helping people with pregnancy navigation, making sure that they can get to healthcare appointments, and figuring out, what the steps are, especially when there's so many forms and...
Oh my gosh, just navigating the system alone can be so devastatingly exhaustive, especially when you're pregnant, for one, or having just given birth, and maybe you're breastfeeding, maybe you're not sleeping, just all the postpartum adjustments that happen, and then navigating... maybe you need some welfare, women, infants, and children support, or some WIC support, or maybe you need, some CalFresh dollars, or maybe you're looking for housing or some stable, housing. I love our community health workers, our Welcome Baby team can help with all of that.
They do. And it's also because it's, kind of a time when most people have to step inward. It can be really a little bit lonely. And so one thing that they do is they check in, and you have somebody who's there to just talk with you and be there, as well as connect to the resources like parenting support groups, birth classes, which we can talk about later too.
But I think it's a good reminder for all our listeners to know that those early years of parenting, when you're having infants, is it's most often the most socially economic challenging times, because you're usually probably losing a worker from the home, and to have them a caregiver in home, or having to go back to work and have their child care costs then, and so I think it's important to highlight that all of those services are free,
right? First Five, we kind of take it for granted that our programs are free to the community. We don't charge for any of the services.
These are your tax dollars.
Yeah.
If you talk about transparency, these are your tax dollars, and these are services that are human rights. You are, you deserve them.
And that our team is really passionate to do the work and support people. And that's, from having relatively low needs to having higher needs and support for resources and that kind of thing. We think everyone who becomes a parent, whether that's, or a caregiver, whether that's, birth or adoption or anything else, that we could do more to support the families.
Absolutely.
And everyone deserves some support. And each baby is different. One of the things that we also talk about is that babies aren't here on their own. There's always a baby and a caretaker.
Right.
And so to focus on helping kids, we have to focus on the child and their family, the world that they live in. And so it's pretty expansive work. It's hard to kind of say, oh, these are the 5 things we do. It's so involved.
I wish we could just limit it to 5 things. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Yeah. I know sometimes people are like, what do you do for work? Well, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
If it has to do with a child, if it has to do with a family, if it has to do with, anything, we touch so much.
Yeah. I like to think that like any family, if you think someone has any kind of support needs around parenting or having children, being a caregiver, First 5 is a place to go to get the information, support, and connection. Even if we don't have a program specific to the need, we'll usually know who to go to and
Absolutely.
how to connect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we love working with our partners because, like I said, we need all of us.
It takes a village.
Right.
It really does. It takes a village. And we used to have the village, right? We used to have like this multi-generational kind of structure of families that you would help parents, kind of do the child rearing. And we've really stepped away and we've migrated so far away from that model. So I think, like as you mentioned, First 5 is definitely that place of connectivity, right? That can connect you and give you that warm handoff that so many of us need sometimes.
Yeah, and help build back those supports and find the other places to meet and connect and build community.
Yeah. And I love, when you talk about caring for the family and making sure that family and that caregiver has just the minor resources, that child is just going to be so much more set up for success, right? Because there's that dyad of care, right? Like whatever the family is going through, that child is going to be going through. So really, making sure that foundation and is set up as strongly as possible.
Yeah, and we have a lot of fun doing the work too, because I think we'll have, maybe a new parent who is really excited to help their child thrive, and they want to know what they can do with their 1-month-old, and we're like, okay, so they're not going to crawl yet. So let's get those realistic expectations of what the next steps are.
But it's a great time to start building their library.
Totally.
I mean, can we plug the Imagination Library here?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
That's one of the first things we do with the Welcome Baby families and community events is Imagination Library is the free book program for all children under 5. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. By the time they're 5, if they sign up right after birth, they'll have 60 books in their library.
Yeah.
And all they have to do is share their birth date, name, and address, and a parent's consent, basically.
That's it.
And between F5M Mendocino, Dolly Parton's Imagination Library program, and the state of California, we fund and get the books out to all kids in Mendocino County who want them. And we have pretty good reach, but I know we can
always
get the service
expand the program. Yeah, only a fraction of the children in Mendocino County are currently enrolled. We had a lot of graduates, because kids they enroll and they graduate out of the program. But I think one of my favorite thing about this is, some parents are just like, well, they're only a month old, right? But they are age-appropriate books, so there'll be a little board book, so they'll have bright colors. It'll be something that the child can gnaw on or what have you. But I think the spark of joy that I see in a child when their book comes in the mail and they start putting all those letters together and they recognize their name on the book. And that just like, oh, this is my book. Such an ownership of literacy, right?
It's so much fun. I remember when my kids were little and we first started getting the Imagination Library books. It was a monthly gift, and each kid got their own books until they were 5. So I think I had 2 kids receiving books at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was just such a joy. And from the very early years of just having those simple books, which gives parents sometimes like, what are you going to do with a 2-month-old? Even if they're not following a story, they know they're getting that connection.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And that's part of what, we want to emphasize and help grow is that like idea that we communicate with young children so that helps us bond and attach. It also helps them begin to learn communication and engage with the world around them. So it's fun. I mean,
is
I
totally
still
fun.
want to read with my kids.
I know.
Pulled them all together
Yeah.
last night and made them sit with me to read a story at,
love that. I love
16, 19, and 22. But
I know. My family and I, we went camping this weekend, and one of my daughters is such a great storyteller. We were playing some game, but it had a huge storytelling aspect of it, and she was so good at it. And it was so lovely to see her in her kind of element of storytelling, right? Which
Yeah.
comes from that, story reading and just, exchange and what have you of time spent.
And then it also helps them with their school
Yes.
and the reading down the line, just to have those books when they're little. That joy they have when they get them in the mail is amazing.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and it's really easy to sign up if you don't have your child signed up. The Imagination Library, you can just go to imaginelibrary.org.
You can go. You can just go. Yeah, just plug in Imagination Library.
Mm-hmm.
It will shoot you to the Dolly Parton website. You can put in any zip code in Mendocino County because we registered every zip code, and then it will pop up, and then you can sign up right online. It's super easy. Super easy.
Yeah, and even for folks who have books in their home, you'll get different books that might take your kids in new directions that, create a hobby.
And you can choose if you want all Spanish or all English, which is great. Yeah. And I think there's 2 bilingual books every year, or every year a child is enrolled.
Yeah, so ton of fun. We can't get enough of books, and kids love them too. So super fun. We should probably do another pitch for the fund drive, right?
Want me to jump in there?
Love
Sure.
that.
Thanks.
Hi, this is Andre here, and we are in our pledge drive, our fall pledge drive. We do this a couple times a year, and we are asking you to donate to help run KZYX and KZYZ. The funds are used for basic things like electricity and maintenance. We just had to have a plumber come out here in Philo. All of those things that happen. Equipment that breaks and needs to be replaced or fixed, as we had happen in Fort Bragg with our 88.1 transmitter. That is being repaired. We do have a spare, a loaner actually, that's there now. So if you're hearing us out on the coast, if you want to help, pay for part of the repair of the transmitter, give a call, 707-895-2233. KZYX.org is also the place to go online if you would like to donate online. That does go to the show totals for first 5. And if you appreciate all this good information that we're getting, which I definitely appreciate it. I actually had a couple of questions, but I'll
take your questions. I'm not.
Thank you.
We're not quite sure we're ready for
make like
managing the phones.
I'm on the
yeah.
phone. But this is the quality local programming that is very important, and really, there's not many things that are more important than the children in our community. And as you were mentioning, getting them off to a good start is huge. And a lot of challenges for that as well. So if you appreciate this programming, give us a call, 707-895-2233, kzyx.org. Also, and then if you prefer to send a check, P.O. Box 1, Philo, California 95466. I need to get the history on how we got that P.O. Box 1, because that's a pretty sweet number right there. Okay, so the question I had is about, you were talking about the 8-week course that goes on. Now, how often is that? I am assuming it's just is a sort of a rolling thing that goes on all the time? Yeah,
we're fortunate to have a couple of contracts with our county. Our county is very supportive of it, and so we'll get referrals into it. So we typically will have, I think we do about, I want to say we do about 36 groups a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's on a rolling basis, and we tailor the groups to the needs of the community. So sometimes if we get a lot of requests, we have just a long wait list, right? We're always taking names and what have you. So there's the typical one that's 0 to 12, the triple P group,
Sure.
8 weeks. And then we get requests for, parents really need help with their teenagers, as Alex was saying,
Right.
Teenagers we need to be reminded of our boundaries, right?
Yep.
But they need boundaries in a different way than a 6-year-old's going to need boundaries, right? So
For sure.
the triple P teen has different tips and strategies to use when you're working with teens who might be experimenting with some high-risk things like maybe drugs or, curfews and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So we'll get a wait list on that and then start a group up for that, right?
Oh, that's good. And is it just for the course, or can that support group go past the 8 weeks? Does that happen?
That's a good question. There are, years and years ago, I used to do groups, and the families would exchange phone numbers and hang
Right.
out,
Sure.
Where we've seen it, actually, we've hired a lot of parents who've actually taken the group.
There you
Some
go.
of our staff have been, kind of cultivated and introduced into our program through taking a class. And so, yeah, I believe that it does create a community of parents, right? Especially
Yes.
for the teenage parents. As Alex was saying, it's very lonely in the beginning ages of infancy. But I feel like parents have the most support. There's like usually play groups or parent groups or a postpartum group of,
Yeah.
something around. And we'll, hopefully as this program goes along, we'll bring in those so the community can get to know like where they're happening in the community and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when parents are parenting teenagers, sometimes it's even more isolating because we're just like, we're embarrassed of our teenagers' behavior,
Sure.
or we don't have another group of parents who are like, maybe they have different goals and strategies for their child because everyone comes
Yeah.
with their own biology, right, and their own resources.
Right. That was the point I was going to say, because with my first child, it was like, oh, hey, I got this.
Right.
And then the second kid came along, and completely different experience with
Right.
that. Like totally different. So you can't say, oh, it's going to be just like this,
They are not
because
cut and paste.
and then on top of that, you have I had my first child with their personality, and the second one, and now all of a sudden it's duplicated. You've got two different personalities to deal with, and one kid pretty compliant, one the other not,
Right.
And then another thought that occurred to me too is that, and maybe this is more geared towards men, but if a family splits up and the child is young, a lot of times the men
Yep.
don't have necessarily the skill sets, because
Yep.
if they're going to have their child 50% of the time, they need to develop those skills. And same with the
Absolutely.
mom, having a child, let's say 50% of the time, and then not having that, be able to say, hey, can you please
Yeah.
take the child for a little bit?
Well, you bring up a very good point, because there is another aspect of triple P. It's called transitions, for those kind of transitions that happen in a home, right? So then the parents, even though they're not living in the same home, they're going to be co-parenting in the same way, having similar rules, similar boundaries. And so the transitions group really helps parents. We usually take parents, and like if they are divorced, the dad will take it 1 week, and then or 1 8 weeks course, and then the mom will take it the second or third, whatever. They'll alternate. They're not usually in the group together.
Sure.
But it does really help relieve a lot of those co-parenting stresses that arise from having just different
Yeah.
households, and creates way more consistency for the child as
Right.
well. But I think that you bring up another really good point about, especially dads. We prioritize women, and we prioritize moms because of just usually that's usually the birthing person. But dads they play such a critical role, not only in the child's life, but research has shown that when dads are active and partnering well, it actually reduces women's postpartum depression experience and postpartum experience as well. So dads are crucial in the child rearing, and really dad as well.
And then having that consistency between parents who are parenting apart, it'll improve the child's behavior more quickly. So neither parent is going to have the kind of challenges they might with, whether it's like tantrums or just misbehavior,
Right.
learning to put away toys from anything to more interesting or challenging behaviors.
Right. Like if you have one parent who's just like, go ahead, run amok, and then you have another parent who's trying to set those boundaries, it can really sort of put a wrench in it.
Yeah.
And if you have both parents who are on the same page and communicating to with each other, that helps a lot. Because, the natural tendency of a young child or a teenager, any kid growing up, is to push boundaries.
Absolutely.
And
that's how they know whether they're safe, right?
Yes.
That's how we all know we're safe. Like, where is the edge of this cliff, right? And I think one thing that's really great about the transitions group is, dads have a different relationship with their child than the moms, and vice versa. And I think understanding that parenting can look a variety of different ways and meet the child's needs, and it doesn't have to look like you do it, right? So dads have a lot of large body movements. They usually wrestle. There's a lot, like tumbling. There's a lot like, I always think dads, at least my kid's father, really helped my children understand how to do dangerous things safely, where I just want to put them in a bubble. Like, don't do anything dangerous, right? Yeah. Like, but that's a different parenting style, right? So, and I had to really let go of, like, okay, you're going to take them cliff jumping. Okay. Kids really want to do that. And he's really skilled at that. So I had to, like, let that go and just be like, you know how to assess the safety. Teach our children how to assess that safety, so then they can go forth and do that, right? Because we don't want to limit our kids, right? The whole, having, a safe, interesting environment, just safe, right?
Yes,
safe looks differently for people, but if you can navigate these landscapes, even if they're risky from time to time, in a safe manner, our kids are going to be able to be such better critical thinkers as well.
I like that you went with the cliff jumping. I was thinking of my husband showing my kids how to safely go downstairs, where I was, like, afraid of that, when these little tiny toddler babies. Before they even walked.
Stairs, cliff jumping. I mean, it's all...
Yeah. So
maybe my kids are a little more adventurous.
Well, it was different ages, because I think...
They were 5 and 6, so yeah.
Are the 8-week courses, are they like a men only or a mom only?
Nope, they're all mixed. They're all mixed. Okay. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah, they're all kind of join in there, and which I love, especially if you have a really mixed group. We have couples come in. Yeah. And I love it when we have all kinds of different caregivers. We have grandparents come in. We have foster parents who come in. Because, again, carrying across the lifespan of a child looks differently and whatever, and it's, we have them all over the county.
That's great.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it is actually good that it's not sort of men and women, because then men in that group get to hear some of the stories of, what it's like from a mother's point of view versus the father's point of view. And there's some empathy.
It normalizes, understanding and, like you said, empathy for different ways of being parents, whatever the gender identity might be.
And Triple P is just one parenting kind of program. I mean, it's really the cornerstone of First 5, but I really do want to highlight, there are other culturally kind of relevant and more appropriate parenting groups that happen throughout the county as well. There's a sacred motherhood and fatherhood is sacred. Now, I think those groups are sacred. I'm not trained in that model, but I love that it's a model that's here and it's available. It's culturally appropriate. It's culturally kind of centered around a population that's not of me. But I love that it's here and available
in many communities.
Many communities, yeah.
That's great. Well, that's all the questions I had.
Well, I'm going to just share where people can learn more about signing up for Triple P. Our website, F5Mendo.org. There's a calendar of events, and we post classes usually quarterly, so that there'll be series available, and people can just sign up. It again, like everything else we do, it's free, and most of our services, if not all, are in English and Spanish.
Absolutely.
So we try to really make sure that as many community members have access as possible.
Yeah, not just our services, but all of our outreach material, all of our handouts. That was one reason why, the Imagination Library, I love that, when Governor Newsom actually is sponsoring for half of the cost of that throughout the county. The one caveat he said was that the books need to be bilingual. They need to have a bilingual option, a full bilingual option. So, because, California, we have a lot of Spanish speakers here, which is, I think, fabulous.
And the more we can help build multilingual skills, that's a fantastic advantage for kids who can go back and forth between languages.
Exactly.
All right.
What else do you want to talk about? Should we do another plug for FRCs? I feel like we just kind of skirted over them. But with parenting classes, I think it's important for our listeners to understand that, we have seven family resource centers throughout Mendocino County. We have a new one that's popped up out of Leggett, which is really the support of Laytonville. Jamis Shields, I have to point out, I have to just kind of shout out Jamis Shields.
Yeah.
She's our FRC coordinator. She coordinates all of the FRCs.
And FRCs, can you tell me a little bit more about what they are and what they do?
Sure. FRCs, Family Resource Centers. Thank you. We'll try not to drop the acronyms too much time. But we're all going to teach our listeners that they sometimes they don't go by Family Resource Centers. We know them as Family Resource Centers, but I know and Laytonville is a family community center, right? So, but they meet the needs of their community where they see them. They're all really unique, actually. So, but they are a hub. They are basically the cornerstone in every community. And if you need resources, if you're new to a community, maybe you're being kind of like reintroduced into a community, maybe you were previously incarcerated and kind of coming back into the community, whatever it is, your Family Resource Center is going to be the place to go to be connected. They're going to know, who is going to be having, they have clothing drives, they have food drives, they know how, pediatricians and doctors who have openings potentially. They know everything about their community. They are the experts in their community. And so I love that we have so many in our county, because it's pretty rare, actually. And that's kind of how Leggett kind of formed a new one. They're just like, hey, we need some supports for families up here. And so Jim has been really helpful in expanding the Laytonville site. But yeah, we have one in Round Valley. We have two in Ukiah. We have Vision and our own, which is embedded in First Five, which is Raise and Shine. We have one in Point Arena. We have one in Potter Valley. What am I missing? We have one in Willits, in Western Allenza. Yeah. And they're just, I don't know, I have such kind of a soft spot for Family Resource Centers.
Right, it's a place to learn about community events, to find out what else is going on, and sometimes get help with some of that, like filling out forms, or knowing how to get it's linked up with SNAP or those kinds of things.
And like I said, they all focus on different things. North Carolina, I think, does a lot of immigration support. Point Arena does a lot of early child care finding, like helping families find child care. I know Laytonville focuses a lot on teens. Potter Valley has a great little clothing, closet for their kids and that kind of stuff.
And activities for kids.
Tons of activities.
I know Round Valley is really great at having those events for kids, whether it's summertime or weekends. Just something safe and fun for kids to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But through all of our Family Resource Centers, we contract through all of our Family Resource Centers, and they all receive funds to provide PPP support as well, or some kind of evidence-based parenting support. And so we just love that we can support them in that way, so we can cover their staff time and their training and what have you. I did want to just call out our own Family Resource Center, because it's a little bit unique in the sense that it does serve Ukiah, but it does serve, because we have a couple of state contracts, we do serve the whole county in receiving services like Early Start.
And Early Start is?
Early Start is a program through the California Department of Developmental Services. And it's really about basically a lot of like health screening, like early screening, early identification of any kind of disabilities or delays. Because we talk about that first 5 years, Early Start really focuses on the first 3 years, because that's really when these large motor skill and these fine motor skills about the brain development really start developing. And so research has found if you can really help support families in those early years and helping a child develop them, then later delays and later disabilities are less likely. So
it makes life easier for the kids.
Way more, yeah. So we collaborate with our local regional center, Redwood Coast Regional Center, and they have service providers. But we really, again, once the services are identified, families need help navigating them. And so our Early Start team with our Raise and Shine helps families navigate a lot of that. We have a inclusive play group that we do every Tuesday.
Super fun.
So
and
fun.
It fills up. It's filling up more and more.
I know. And just seeing those little babies come in every day.
That's like 10 to noon.
Yeah. 10 to noon. Yeah. 10 to noon. Yeah.
So it's this morning. It's Tuesday.
It's happening. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then we also the Family Resource Center also acts as a family empowerment center, because as children are growing and they're going into school age, families still need support. And so for those families who might have a child that might need an individualized education plan, and how to advocate for that, and how to understand like what their child's needs are, our team can also help with that. And again, those are across the whole county. We can meet with families across the whole county if you're needing support with that.
And while most of our services are for families with children under 5, the FRC, Raise and Shine, can serve and help families
Absolutely.
Through early adulthood.
Yeah,
even.
early adulthood, 21, 22. Yeah.
Yeah, when there's developmental delays or
Yep.
or disabilities.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. What else do you want to talk about?
Well, I mentioned earlier that we also do offer, in part of our perinatal, which is the area that I focus on. It's, from pregnancy through the first year, basically. Focus is we do offer birth classes, which is in partnership with Adventist Health. We do those free at the hospital. Those are offered monthly, and we have those events posted on social media and all that.
Is that on Eventbrite?
It is on Eventbrite, yeah.
Because I was going to also say, if you want to go to our website, you can totally go to our website and find all our classes. But we also have a whole Eventbrite page of First 5.
We have a couple even.
And so you're only going to learn about our parenting classes, but our prenatal classes, and then we have a whole another thing of our professional development training that we do as well. Which
we'll probably have Megan come.
This is why we need a monthly program
next
because
time.
we can talk about all that stuff.
Convince her, yeah.
Exactly.
Megan runs all our community education, which is really great to help offer continuing education for the educators, for the healthcare providers, for service providers all across the county, so that we're always developing new skills and deeper understanding. Goes back to that positive parenting program, always learning.
Always learning.
We try to have
environment.
as many Venn diagrams as we can possibly have.
Absolutely.
It's all connected.
What else are you going to say about the classes? Because I think we only have a few more minutes.
Yeah, so we do the birth classes that talk about preparing for birth and also preparing for parenthood.
Yes.
Because it's one thing to be ready to have your baby, but it's another thing to be prepared for postpartum, for baby care, for learning about safe sleep and child safety, like car seats, and where to go for car seat inspections, which we also offer to support families to make sure their kids are safe in their car seats. It's more complicated than you might expect, and if you try to install one, you might notice just how wobbly they are unless you really get in there and wrestle. So it's a really good service that we can offer by appointment. But we talk about all that during the postpartum class, and also about services like the Breast Start Warm Line, which is a phone number anyone who can call in the county when they have questions about lactation. We'll try to do
such a great support.
Support over the phone just to help identify problems or work toward solutions, and then connect folks to in-person supports that they might need, whether that's a doula or a lactation consultant in the community.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, to worry about if your baby's not being fed properly. I remember having a lot of issues in the beginning,
pain, so common,
all the pain, was this normal?
But it doesn't have to
I'm
be.
not quite sure,
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those are a few of the things we do, but we're coming up on the hour, so I want to make space.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in here. You've been listening to First 5, which is a new show that we have here on KZYX and Z. And also, I wanted to say thank you to Shelley in Albion, who made a donation and said all the programs are wonderful, appreciate the local updates, and thank you very much, Shelley, for that. Yeah, we are winding down. We have about a minute or so left. What a great program. Thank you for what you do for our community.
Thank you. So we're really, I just want to thank you again for the opportunity and the invitation to come and visit you guys monthly and just kind of go into more depth about what our programs are. I mean, I think this show was very, very overarching, but we will be more specific and start introducing some.
Yeah, that's really great. And initiatives that you have, at certain times of the year and everything. I'm very excited about it. And where were you when my kids were little? No, we had support. We had a great doula, and
awesome.
We had very good support, but it's needed.
It is needed.
And don't feel, for our listeners, if you have a young child, or you're a grandparent, reach out. If you're having problems, reach out.
Yeah, please.
All right, we're going to transfer over to Fort Bragg, and we've got Susan Jewell. and Loose Cannon Classics. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
You're tuned to KZYX Philo, KZYZ Willits and Ukiah, K201HR Fort Bragg, and we're streaming online at kzyx.org. Together we are Mendocino County Public Broadcasting, listener-supported community radio.
Church bell, like electric sound in the deep of the night, burning down the house along with...
Support for KZYX comes from our members and Mariposa Market in Willits. October is non-GMO month, and Mariposa Market brings many products that are free of GMOs, from snacks to pantry staples. To Nourish the Market brings many products that are free of GMOs, from snacks to pantry staples, to nourish the body and the planet. Fall food favorites, organic candy, and Halloween gifts too.